Hey, what's up, everyone? Sam Shaw here, founder of Wall Street Mastermind. Really excited to be back there with another client interview for you guys. Today, we have Robin on with us. Robin is a client that we've been working with for almost a year at this point. He just finished recruiting for his junior summer internship for summer 2023 and was able to get a very successful outcome, especially given his profile. So I wanted to get him to come on here and talk to you guys today about how he was able to kind of like overcome all the obstacles along the way and kind of get to where he is today. And hopefully by sharing his experience, it'll help you guys as well with your own recruiting process. So to start off, Robin, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today, man.
Yeah, of course, man. I guess a little bit of background on myself. To give some color, my family and I, we moved to the US back in 2015 as refugees. So I really didn't have any idea what investment banking was to begin with. It was like a fever dream. I remember first reading about it in like a magazine, and I was like, this sounds kind of cool. But like in my head, it was like unreachable. I remember giving an example of this to somebody. It was like a kid trying to be an astronaut. It was like, I want to go to space, but then you're like, how many people go to space? So you just like have that dream in the back of your head. And that was IB for me. And I started exploring it past high school. My parents, neither of them went through high school. So I was completely new, first generation. And I was navigating this new country, this new system, and all of it. Finished high school with a rather low GPA, but ended up going to a college in West Virginia for a year. About 800 people in that college, so a rather small college, and decided to transfer out. Went to Virginia Tech my sophomore year, and then between that summer was when I was like, okay, I think I really want to pursue investment banking, and I was interning at a regional bank at that time, and I was basically doing like a rotational program, good chunk of it on the commercial side. And if like I remember my commute to that work was like 30, 40 minutes, and I would just Google like investment banking on podcasts, and Sam's podcast was on it. And I remember like hearing like 2, 3 minute snippets of it, and like I would just listen to that like on the drive there. I love you, Sam, but the intro, like I just kept hearing the intro like every 3 minutes as I went through it. And I was like, I had that intro memorized in the back of my head at some point. I was just like his voice is gonna haunt me as I sleep. Like the intro is like, hey, this is Sam from Wall Street Mastermind. I was just like, this is really fun. But like the information was really valuable for me. And I was just like, okay, maybe this is achievable. And I just went on the website and I saw the free consultation thing, hopped on it, and then got on a call. And I ended up talking to somebody from Wall Street Mastermind who walked me through the process. And at first, like I saw the success rate was over 90%, which honestly was just like, okay, like this is kind of like bullshit. There's no way it's over 90%. Like that's just insane. But saw the testimonials, went through the people stuff, and it actually is like they're actually right. It is like above 90%, and a lot of these students do succeed. And I was very hesitant on it. I was like coming from my background from a low income family. Both my parents did like two jobs going through it. I was on college on like scholarship and all of that stuff. So it was a pretty hefty like investment to like go through for anything.
Yeah.
So sat back on it, and I remember I actually first initially was not going to join it, and then I declined it, and then I spoke to my parents about it, and they made me sit down, and they didn't really know what IB was either, and I tried to walk them through it with my limited knowledge. And I think the only things they asked me was like, do you think it's beneficial for your future? I was like, yes. And then the most important question I got asked before that by my parents that I think really solidified my decision was, if you join it, are you going to regret joining it? And I was like, not really. Like it, like even if I join it, like I'm still learning something at the worst case. But like if you don't join it, are you going to regret joining it? And I was like, well, if I don't join it and I don't end up getting an offer ever, or if I don't like do anything, then like I'm going to look back and regret that time for the rest of my life. So I want to give myself every available resource possible. And I remember like reading up on like IB and like seeing like how many people came from such connected backgrounds. So it was just like, you don't even start at a level playing field. You already start at like a skewed down playing field. So like you take every advantage, every resource you have possible. And joining Wall Street Mastermind was like, I think it essentially took me from like someone who was completely out of it to like actually being in it and like understanding the world as a whole. So
Hmm.
like that was my intro to Wall Street Mastermind. I did it, like Sam said, I joined. It's almost a year. That's crazy. Last year in July, and went through the courses and stuff like that. I think immediately after I joined it, 3 weeks later, I got my first internship for my fall semester that summer, and that was with a private equity fund. And then I somehow like it was like I don't like encourage this, but I did two internships that summer. So I got two internships within the first month of joining Wall Street Mastermind, and
Yeah.
the other one was a startup. It was a fintech brokerage fund, and they're both really interesting jobs. I had like a lot of work in there, which like helped my resume, and it like I went from like having just commercial background to like having some relevant finance internships before heading into the junior cycle right
Yeah.
away within a month. So I
Yeah.
think like a big part of it was I wish I joined earlier because I would have had a better standing. I think a regret that still gets to me is like if I joined my freshman year, I'm like I would have like I could have secured a sophomore summer internship in an investment bank.
Sure.
But yeah,
So let's wow, that was a lot. Let's
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot to unpack there that I want to ask you about.
Go
So
for it.
because you have such a unique and interesting background and you just had to overcome so much, right? But first things first, before we kind of go through all that, I guess like can we tell people the outcome first? So like what were the offers that you were able to get after joining our program? Like where are you going to be going?
So I ended up doing super days with I think four bulge brackets and a couple of elite boutiques. I ended up getting a scholarship from PIMCO for $20,000, and then they also like expedited our. They basically said we have like positions for you guys if you guys do want to like try to join in. But then by then I'd already signed with another bulge bracket, Bank of America's Merrill Lynch, and I think most likely going to end up in their M&A group in New York for that for next summer. Yeah, summer 23.
Got it. Okay. So I mean that's a great offer. I mean Bank of America is like it's a top 10 bank,
Yeah,
and like M&A Group obviously is great as well. So that's a huge accomplishment and $20,000 scholarship, not
yeah.
too shabby either. Um, so that's amazing, man. So let me go back to some of the stuff that you said because I want to ask you about this stuff. Like I think the craziest part is the fact that you moved to the US only like 7 years ago as
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
where did you guys move from, by the way? Like,
So I grew up in Nepal for the most part. So it was like you wouldn't have even heard of like investment banking there. It's
yeah,
ridiculous. And I was in the Middle East for about like 5 years in the middle.
got it. Do you guys speak English there, or did you have to learn that after you came to the States?
No. I learned English in the Middle East, and then when I came to the US as well. So like I learned Arabic, English, and then a bunch of like other languages through that whole route. But yeah, it was completely like new because English is like different in every country. People don't realize that the way we like speak it. Like so when I came to the US, like I didn't know what parentheses were for the like end of my life. It's
Yeah,
called it brackets. And you guys have like a different version. Like
yeah.
period is just like not a thing that we use. It's like full stop, kind of stuff like that. So trying to like acclimate to the cultural thing was definitely a big part as well.
So you're a refugee. English is your second language, or maybe third or whatever, but it's not your native language.
Yeah.
You're the first person in your family to go to college. So like, your parents didn't go to college,
They didn't
right?
even go to I didn't think they like went through like more than 2 years of high school. It's crazy.
Your parents didn't go. Your parents didn't go. They didn't finish high school.
Yeah.
Um, and then so understandably, you struggled in high school when you were here in the States and you didn't have the best grades. Cause I mean, like anyone coming from the background that you came from, that's just like so much to deal with as a teenager, right? And so, I think that's completely reasonable that your grades weren't good. So then like you first went to a small school. Is that like the West Virginia school we talked about? Is that like a community college or is that like a 4-year
No, it was
school?
like a private school. I went there as a Division II NCAA cross country and track and field athlete.
Uh-huh.
So I just like started running out of nowhere in high school, and I did decently well. And the biggest reason I went there was the financials. They offered like a full ride, and it made sense to go there. I also like I was just scared. Like I was very intimidated in high school, where like I didn't even apply to like a bunch of colleges to begin with because I just didn't feel like I deserved it.
Yeah.
So like that's why IB was like a very weird thing for me to like even pursue, because like getting into college is hard, getting into IB is like a different league.
Right.
So it was one of those things that hit there.
Okay. And then so then like after you transferred, so you transferred after your first year, and that was to Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And that summer between this first school and going to Virginia Tech was basically when you joined Wall Street Mastermind, right?
Yeah. It was a fun summer.
um, and then so you joined Wall Street Mastermind. Excuse me. And to your point, like, I mean, when you first found, I'm glad you found us by our podcast, by the way. Like a lot of people find us through the podcast, which is great.
Yeah.
But I want to like understand. First of all, you sound like you have amazing parents, because the fact that you guys come from the background that you come from, you don't have much. It sounds like you're low income. Your parents are working. Sounds like multiple jobs, probably blue collar jobs, and for them to just like be so understanding and supportive with like you investing to this program. I want to kind of like understand that mindset a little bit, because I feel like even though we have a great program, a lot of times like the thing that I feel like there's like one of two things that typically stops people from joining the program. One is like the price, and they feel like they can't afford it, or it's too expensive for them, or like they don't think it's worth it, right? Or two, maybe they read a lot of stuff online about how, oh, this just kind of the same mindset that you have, which is, oh, over 90% success rate, like this must be a scam, blah 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 blah, right? So like, how were you able to just like overcome those two things and still join this program? Because I feel like what you did is pretty uncommon for someone in your position. Like, I think if someone in your position who didn't have a lot of money and was reading online all this crazy stuff, none of which is true, but nonetheless, so a lot of people out there spreading a bunch of FUD about this program, like you would think that you're not inclined to go and take like a significant chunk of your family savings and invest into this program, right? So like, what got you to do that? I guess, I mean, you talked about like just not wanting to regret things, but how are you able to, like, say you don't want to regret it assumes that you believed in the program in the first place and you felt like it was going to help you. Like, how are you able to kind of see through all the like fake noise that's online and like kind of like, I guess, think critically for yourself and determine whether this is actually like a legitimate thing?
I think for me, I guess I'll go back to the first question, like why was the decision? The decision was like really hard to begin with, because again, the financials were like my barrier of entry. And it's weird because like my parents had bought we bought like our house literally the month before, so it was like it was a very like cash flow tight time as well, and so that made it like rather difficult. And I the reason that I like stood up and like I convinced my parents to go through with it and work with them on that was because it was the podcast. And I'm glad I'm glad a lot of people do that. Like I didn't know that, but like I'm glad a lot of people get introduced to it through the podcast, because I think the podcast in a way like filters out the noise for a lot of people. Like I got introduced to Wall Street Mastermind through the podcast, and then the car ride as I would listen to the podcast, it was just pure information. And it was free information that was out there. It was condensed, and it was really, and it was very like honest and good information. It wasn't like trying to like gate like block info, or like trying to like hide it away from people or anything. It was just like it was out there for someone to like learn. And again, like I think one of the episodes in the podcast or like even the website is pretty honest about the fact that like the information is out there for everyone to do it. Like the info on like IB is out there. It's just like there is also like for every one piece of good information, there's like 9 pieces of like shit information that's gonna like put you 9 steps back. And I think what Wall Street Mastermind did really well, especially within the podcast as well, was like it cut out the BS and it was just like, okay, this is what you need to know, and like this is what matters, and like let's just go ahead with that rather than like falling down 9 times to get up once. And so like I did, like I was one of the students who like, and I think that's common for a lot of students who would look into Wall Street Mastermind. We're all going to go through the Reddits. We're all going to go through Wall Street Oasis. The rabbit hole is going to be deep, and it's going to be at like 1 a.m. When you're like contemplating it. But like it's just the AMAs and stuff like that. You read it, and then like there's an internal debate, right? Whether it's like do you want this or not? And I found myself like every single time I read a negative comment, I just found myself defending it in my head, where I was like, no, but like that still ended up working out, or like stuff like that. And like every negative comment just seemed like kind of like BSy. And like it's just that like when like a student, like a straight white male student whose parents have been in banking or in like engineering, something like that, that like grew up privileged, went to a target school, is telling you that like a program that helps you get into investment banking is bullshit because it charges X amount of money, is kind of like a moot point, because like you had the same information just like at a higher cost probably at your college that you just didn't like see the payments go through with. And it like you just want to keep your edge as much as you want. And that was like the profile of most of the people that were shitting on it. And like there was like the history was very honest too. On the website it's like, okay, we've been here for 5 years, these are our percentages. I think I was on the website yesterday, and it's very honest. Like last year, like during COVID, I think 2021, it was 89%, I think, the success rate. And like you could have easily like kept that data away, but like it was 89, but this year it's 96 or 93, something like that. Like it's a much better year. So you just have to like have that level of like candidness. And then the idea that like everyone I spoke to from the program always vouched for it. Everyone who shat on it just never did the program. So it just like never really made sense. Like you can't like I don't know what song it is. It's like you can't even like let's get a line in the first like beginning of the song. It's like you can't like hate on the club, like you can't even get in. Like what's like how are you gonna hate on it? It's just like kind of that whole thing. Like if you don't know what it is, it's like you just like hating on it to hate on it. And like as someone from a very like unique perspective, like I think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of really good points here, which is like, I think the biggest thing is that it sounds like you actually really gave it a lot of thought yourself. You took in all the information that was available from both sides, both the detractors on Wall Street Oasis or Reddit and all these places, as well as all the proof that we tried very, very hard to show, right? Through like interviews with our clients, like you, like we're doing right now, is like show like you're a real person, to all the reviews that we have from actual clients, to posting screenshots of messages that our clients send us when they get offers, to like, we try to show all of these things in a way that's like, that cannot be just made up or faked, right? Because we know that people are very skeptical. But I think that like in this day and age, when pretty much anyone can say anything they want about anything, right? It's like Republicans will say one thing, Democrats will say one thing, and then like they both think that their version of the truth is the truth and the other side is wrong. And like one of the most important skills you can have in this day and age is like the ability to think critically for yourself and evaluate the evidence that's in front of you and make up your mind about like what really is going on, right? And I think like to your point, you have to understand like a lot of the people that hate on Wall Street Mastermind, to your point, is like maybe they have a lot of advantages that most people don't have, and they think like this is just a walk in the park. I mean, there are people like that, right? Like dad is a managing director somewhere, or uncle's a managing director somewhere, or whatever, and they're playing a totally different game, right? Or like maybe they're super wealthy and you're low income. To your point, like they're not paying for a program like Wall Street Mastermind, but they can afford to pay $80,000 a year to go to like some super exclusive Ivy League school. And that's like the biggest advantage you could possibly have, right? And it's like, sure, you didn't pay for a program like this, but you pay $320,000 for college, and I'm paying like next to nothing, right? Because I can't do that. And so like all of these things have to be factored in. And I think that ultimately, I think the point that I agree with the most is that like, if you want to know whether the program is actually good or not, you need to go to like the source, meaning that the source, not like me, but like the source as in like other people that have actually done the program and know what the program is like, not like from people that have never done the program and just want to like talk crap about it. And by the way, also, I think like it's not just like the privileged people that, you know, that like to say like Wall Street Mastermind is not
Oh,
worth
there's
it.
a massive chip on the ones that aren't privileged. Like it's the idea that like because somehow they got in without Wall Street Mastermind, anyone who like admits that they might need help or like wants to have that like that filter where like they like okay, like maybe I just want help and like maybe I might not need it, but I like want it, like it's nice to have, and like I want to like secure it. Like because you didn't need that doesn't mean like other people can't have it. And like just because you got in without that doesn't make you like they have this like weird complex where they really want to like put down anybody that who like tries to like ask for
Sure.
help in any semblance of the way.
I
Yeah,
think, yeah, I
that's
think
a
there's
weird
some of
group.
that. There's some of that. It was just like, hey, people that we're not saying Wall Street Mastermind is the only way to get in. And there are definitely people in the past. I mean, we've only been around for 5 years, but like,
Yeah,
there are definitely people that have gotten in without Wall Street Mastermind. Like, we're not saying that that's not possible, right? And yeah, for those people, it's easy for them to say after the fact, like, oh yeah, you don't need that. Like, I got in without it, sure. But like, everybody's situation is different, and who knows if like they have,
survivor's bias by all means. Yeah,
yeah, or if they have some advantages that you didn't have, right? But also like, we're more talking about like a probability thing, which is
yeah,
for every person that got in without having help, like how many people failed
exactly.
miserably trying to do it on their own? Like statistically, we know that a lot more people don't get into banking versus the ones that actually do. But you're not going to hear from the people that tried on their own and didn't get in because they don't want to talk about it, right?
Exactly.
And then the last thing is like, I think a lot of people, there's actually a third group who likes to discourage people from joining Wall Street Mastermind, which is people that are still going through the process right now, but they themselves, for whatever reason, don't want to use Wall Street Mastermind or don't want to spend the money or whatever. And they don't want other people to use Wall Street Mastermind because they know that it's going to make it harder for them because now you have this competitive advantage that they don't have. Right. And so like they have no incentive to go out and encourage everyone else to use Wall Street Mastermind when they themselves aren't using it, because why would they do that? It just makes their lives harder. Right.
Yeah,
And so you have to like think about people's motives and like where they're coming from. But I think like regardless though, at the end of the day, to your point, like in terms of like this mentality of like, hey, getting help, or like if you can't do it on your own, then you don't deserve to do it at all or whatever. It's like, I mean, as an athlete, you understand how silly that is, because it's just like, you think about all the competitive athletes out there, like, what do they all have? They all have coaches, right? Like we don't tell athletes like, oh, like you don't deserve to win the game if you have a coach that's like coaching you along the way. Like you should just like, you should win the gold medal at the Olympics just by like training on your own. Like nobody says that, right? Like I think
yeah,
if you're like just playing pickup basketball at the YMCA, sure, you don't need a coach. But if you were trying to like compete at the highest level, anyone who's trying to compete at the highest level has a coach, and nobody thinks twice about why they have a coach, right? And so like, why is your career any different, right?
exactly.
So anyway, I think like you made a lot of really good points, and I think like that's really helpful for people to be able to like understand how you thought about it. But I want to like spend some time too talking about like, okay, sure, you joined Wall Street Mastermind, and so like over the last year or so, like what have you actually been doing inside of Wall Street Mastermind, and like how was that different than maybe anything you were doing on your own prior to Wall Street Mastermind? I don't know what else you did prior to Wall Street Mastermind aside from like listening to our podcast,
Yeah.
but like now that you've gone through it and you actually know what the program is like, if you compare what you did to versus like what you probably would have done if you were trying to do this on your own, like what were some of the biggest differences in your opinion?
I mean, I guess to go back to the first question, what I did before Wall Street Mastermind was pretty much nothing. Like it's like I thought I did a lot. That's the thing, right? It's like your world is so much smaller before you like actually realize what you can do. Like I thought I was like doing everything possible. Like like I remember at some point in the back of my head, it was like, there's no way I'm not getting into investment banking. Like it was just like, but like all I was doing was like reading up on like what like investment bankers do. Like it wasn't even like networking. The idea of networking was like way off. And so it was just those things were like, I think a lot of us students, because this process is honestly a little lonely, if that's the right word. Like you go through it alone because even with your own classmates, in a way you are competing against them. So like a lot of times you just do it on your own, and your like other classmates who are not doing it won't really understand like how consuming it becomes at some point. So like it is a lonely process. So like you can get lost and do the wrong things really easily if you don't have like a sense of direction from somebody else. Like you brought up the coach example. You do need like that one person to just be like, hold up, you're doing this wrong. Like you need to like redirect. And like going towards like what Wall Street Mastermind did was exactly that. Like where it was like the resources were immense. Like it's like when you buy courses that like the other courses that are out there, and I did explore them before I joined Wall Street Mastermind. It's like there's categories within it, right? Like within like Wall Street Oasis, like it's the books, like, and like you have to buy a book for financial modeling, you have to buy a book for networking. There's like it's like 5-6 different books that add up to like about like $1,000 or like $500,000 easily anyways. And like you have to do a lot of stuff on your own. So it's like with Wall Street Mastermind, once you're in for life. And like it's encompassing, like everything is provided kind of a thing. So it's a nice like it's a nice thing to have. Like you don't have to worry about the admin stuff of it like anymore. Like you just get to like do the meat of it. And like going back to like the direction thing, it's very helpful in that. Like I've had access to Sam at any point throughout the last year. Like he was at his wedding last week, and I think like I did ping him once or twice like throughout the wedding, and that was after I got my offer to like it was to like ask like other stuff. And there's always like out there to help. And like I think at some points like he's too available. Like the morning of his wedding, he like put out on the Slack channel, he was just like, I'm at my wedding, can't respond for the day, we'll get back to it tomorrow. And was like, dude, you getting married today, take a week off or something. Like it's like I don't think he's lost the IB grind yet. It's still in there. But like he's always available, and so are the other coaches. Like, and they're all really nice, and so is the community. Like, and the best part is they're not afraid to like correct you when you're wrong. Like there's no like there's with Wall Street Mastermind, like the community is so strong. And like the best way to put that is like when you're wrong, they'll point it out and they'll correct you. It's not putting you down, but they won't try to make you like feel like even though you're wrong, you're right kind of a thing. Like I've had Sam straight up like tell me like, no, that's bullshit, or like that's wrong, or like, yeah, no, don't do that. Like at times, and like, and it's like it's harsh in the moment where I'm just like, wow, like I didn't, that was like blunder. Then like you sit back and you just like, no, but like that made sense. Like rather than like hearing someone give you like an hour-long session on like the tiny little details of why it's wrong, it's wrong. Like that's pretty much it. Like move on and like actually do something that's like the right way and like head back to the right direction instead of like the wrong side. I think Wall Street Mastermind does that really well. At the beginning, I think it's a very like it's a very funneled out thing where like in the beginning there's a lot of work you have to put in, and like you go through the modules, you learn a lot. There's a learning curve in there, and I think you get like an immense amount of the like that value from the course within the first month if you do it right. Like for the most part, like if you do it right, like within a month you might be able to land an internship. Like if you really want to, maybe less. I think like a month is like being generous. And like from a financial standpoint, like my ROI on Wall Street Mastermind has been ridiculous. Like the internships that I did over the fall were both paid at like $30 an hour, and I did that for my entire fall semester. Then I got the PIMCO scholarship, and then I got the internship with BAML. Like I think made like easily tenfold on that money. And like the money is it's a barrier of entry at a certain level, and like there's a reason that every single person in Wall Street Mastermind is serious about getting in, because they all had to face that barrier of entry. So it's like no one is there to like just like mess around and be there. I mean, unless like you are an MD's son and you just want to like mess around and be there. But we haven't had one come in. If you are an MD's son and want to hop in, please do. Like we want to take advantage of you as much as you want to mess around on here. Would love to connect. But
we actually have
last name.
We have had kids of managing directors in the program. Like
that's wild.
Very senior. I won't name names, but like
Yeah.
very, very senior managing director, like started their own bank. It was a middle market bank, got acquired. Now is like a part of a bigger bank. Like, yeah, I mean, like, ironically,
Yeah.
people like that who are like very privileged and very connected, they of all people actually understand that it's all about gaining as much of a competitive advantage as possible. Right? Like the really successful and really wealthy people, they understand that. Like that
And
is
it's like it's
that is
what's
their
important.
mentality. Yeah. But that's just the way it is, right? Like it's very
Yeah.
competitive, and you need to, you don't want to leave any competitive advantage on the table if you can have it.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Then the resources are like the resources that Wall Street Mastermind provides. I think it's like it's beyond what any other service can provide, and I think that's based on the community that's there. And like even as someone who comes from a background where the financial barrier could not have been taller for me, like it's like if someone paid me to write a like a harder like backstory and like how the financial background would be like a bigger of a barrier, I couldn't like make it up, like kind of a thing. And like it was difficult, like it sucked, but like that, I think it's genuinely important to keep that barrier up, because when you do enter, you care, and like the community cares, and the community is the biggest like motivator in there. I think a lot of the resources are what they are because the community is genuinely involved. And it's not only like when you go through the process, because every other like place, I feel like once someone gets an offer, they like stop and like they're like out of it and they're just like back in their world.
Yeah.
But with Wall Street Mastermind, it's like most of the people that are active are people who already have offers or multiple offers helping other kids. And like a big example of that, like Sam's wedding week, like the other people were answering replies to underclassmen like more than like Sam could have been able to. And it's just like you form a sense of friendship, like, and I have made friends through that. Like I've had friends who've had the same super days as I have had, and like I've spent the nights before that super day, like, and like he's in the West Coast and I'm in the East Coast, and we would still coordinate times to like get on a call, because we were both in Wall Street Mastermind, and then mock interview each other, and then like compare stuff, help each other out. And like you form a sense of community because you know that you're all going to succeed. The 90% success rate takes away the competitiveness in a sense. Like you're like everyone's going to eat, so like might as well like help each other out in that process.
Yeah.
Ironically, the kid who was helping me also had an offer while he was doing like after he while he was doing super day. So he was like you just help each other out, and it's a great community. And I think that's a resource that you can't find anywhere. Like I think that's worth the money, and like the barrier of entry should stay there. It just makes it worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. You make a lot of really, really good points. You're talking about Christian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Christian's awesome. He's added a lot to the community too, and shares some really cool things that we've since added to our
His
training.
tech wees, like his technicals are ridiculously good.
Yeah, he's a smart guy.
He's an engineer, like that's the crazier part too. Like and like his financial technicals are better than like almost anyone I know as an engineer.
Yeah, but I wanna talk about something too, because like you talked about like the financial ROI having just been like ridiculously good for you.
Yeah.
That's like before we even take into account like
Oh yeah,
your
potential value is not like counted at all.
future career trajectory of like, hey, now at a minimum, you're gonna start full time at like a top 10 bulge bracket bank.
I think base is 110 this year, right? All across the street. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like depending on the bank, anywhere from like 110 to even 130, 140 at some
Exactly.
places. And then bonus is 50% if you suck, but like 100%
Yeah.
if you're good. Like you could be making over 200K a year right out of college, which for someone like you as a first generation college student
Nuts.
coming with parents who didn't even finish high school and came to this country as refugees, like I gotta imagine that's like life changing for you guys, right? Like, I mean, like, what did your parents say when you told them you got the offer? Like, was that like what
I
was?
mean, I guess like I'll give you an example of like how that like I don't think you know this either. So it's your first time like hearing it. The ROI on it, the reason like I think like and maybe it's just like a meeting, but like maybe it's like I'm sure this happens with like a lot of other people as well, where like because of my unique, and I have a younger sibling, so like, and he's about 2 years younger than me, so he's going to college next year. and my parents have never really crossed like over 100 grand in like combined income. So like we've all been going through it, like, and because I'm a refugee, like because we're going through the process, we can't really get need-based scholarships. It's just not like a thing. Like you can't get FAFSA. So like you have to like you struggle with that a little bit and stuff like that. So originally earlier this year, my brother could technically, and he'd gotten into like UVA, he'd gotten into like tech as well, and he got into NYU Stern and everything. So like he was a smart kid, but like at the beginning of this year when he got those acceptance letters, he could not have gone to those colleges because like we just simply couldn't afford it. And as like an older brother who was in college, like at an actual 4-year institution, he was going to go into a community college. Like I felt like shit because I was like I know for a fact that's because like I'm here and like you can't afford both kids at the same time. But then I got the PIMCO thing, and like my brother's actually going to like UVA next year. So like it's the idea that like an investment that I made, like that was like literally like a percentage, like a tiny percentage of like what I like made throughout the last year. Because last year doing my internships, I paid for like my like housing, and then like the PIMCO thing paid for my like a semester's worth of college, and then like the internship money pays for it. And like so because of that, like I remember like my mom told me that my younger brother actually cried when he got to UVA because like it sucked because it was like a double-edged sword, right? Like he got in, but then he knew like he couldn't go, whereas like his friends didn't even get in, and like he comes from the same background as I do, and it was like impossible for that to happen. So like the financial upside has been ridiculous, and like my parents, when I told them that, and like it's weird, like given the background, like my parents didn't even know what it was. Like the worst was like when they compared it to like one of my parents' friends like working at Capital One as a commercial banker. They're like, isn't that the same thing? I wanted to like shoot myself. But like keeping a straight face through that, I was just like just be nice. Like but no, I had to like explain to them what like I like because like Asian parents love to like tell their friends like what their kids are doing. So like I had to like I remember my mom used to tell like until literally like 2 weeks ago, my mom like I asked her like what she told her friend, and she was like, yeah, just tell them like a financial like advisor or some business advisor or something like that. And I was just like, that is like disgustingly like different from what I do. I had to like walk her through what investment banking is, and they still don't like believe me when I say like I'm going into a field like that's making that much money. Like it's just like it doesn't register right with them.
Yeah.
And like I promised my brother that I'd pay for his like undergrad and master's, and I can actually afford to do that when I go into IB. Like that's the beauty of it, right? And it's not money that like that's like money enough to just like make a difference. The money that like changes like not only my life but like my entire like families for the rest of my life. It's that like idea. And yeah, like it's I didn't think you knew about the PIMCO thing like affecting that. That's why I was like super excited about that one.
Dude, that is an amazing story. And yeah, I did not know about that because you hadn't shared that with me up until now. And I love hearing stories like that. And I have heard similar stories like that from other uh,
Yeah,
low income clients of ours where they're like so happy because they're going to graduate and make an amount of money that their parents have never made in their lives. Right. And they're making it right out of college. But it's not about the money, right? Like money is just money. But what money really allows us to do is like give the people that we love like a better life, like give them like a
exactly.
higher quality of life, and allow your brother to get a better education, and so that he could have a better future. And like that's what really matters, right?
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, we all work so hard because for what? Like because we want to create a better life for the people around us, right? And so I think, man, that's a beautiful thing, and I'm really grateful that you shared that story with me just now. So
Yeah, of course.
honestly, it makes like it reminds me of like why I continue to do what I do. It's just like it's very, very like, yes, I'm like run Wall Street Mastermind as a for-profit business. Like I'm in this to like make money for my own family as well. But like aside from the money, like it is very, very rewarding when I hear stories like this, right? And it's just like this is the most fulfilling job that I've ever had. Compared, I mean, I have some like amazing jobs. Right? Like I've worked in banking, I worked in private equity, I worked for some like amazing tech startups when they were like very small private companies like Square and GitHub, and like this hands down like is the best job that I've ever had, like in my opinion, right? So, and a lot of that is thanks
I
to,
get that feeling. Like for me, I'd always imagine like what it would be like to get an offer, like get that call, because like you get a call, it's an acceptance, you get an email, it's a rejection kind of a thing. And I actually got it I would always imagine like where I would be like when I got that call and everything. And my BAML one was literally an hour and a half after my interview, and I was like in the middle of Times Square walking back to my hotel. So like I got it in like the most like aesthetic place possible. Like you're flat in the middle of Times Square, you get a call, it's the person that interviewed you an hour and a half later, like giving you an offer. And like that was great. Like it was a good feeling. But like 2 days ago, I was at my younger brother's graduation, and that was the first time I saw him after I came back, because I'm in DC now and they're in Nova. So like I saw him for the first time then, and like he wanted to drive back with me alone. And like he like gave me a hug like when like we were in the car, and he was like, thanks, I like it was because of that like I go to college. And like that was like way better than like the MD's call. Like I would like, because like for me for a year I'd been waiting for that call, and like that call was nothing compared to that like little conversation. But like
yeah,
that conversation happened because of that call. And like it makes things like that possible in a sense. And like it's a beautiful thing.
that's amazing, man. That's amazing. I know like we're running up on time, but like one other thing I
Yeah.
want to ask you about too is, um, I'm like kind of tearing up a little bit hearing that story,
No,
but
yeah.
it's such a good story. But um, I want to ask you a little bit, just like for our audience's sake. Like I know what happened, but in terms of like the interview prep itself, because I still remember like you had like Super Day coming up. We decided to do a mock interview, and then like in that mock interview, we basically like changed
Oh yeah,
a
almost
lot
all
of
of
your
it.
answers on the spot. Um, can you talk about that process a little bit? Like, what was like, I mean, how different were your answers before and after working with us? And then also like, what were some of the feedback that you got from your interviewers after using those answers in your Super Days?
So like I guess before I joined Wall Street Mastermind, I didn't know like how to interview. Like that was just like I just didn't know how to interview, period. Like I didn't know what behaviorals, technicals were. Like it just wasn't my like thing to do. And I just thought like I didn't have like a good story, I wasn't a good candidate, any of that. Like it was just bad. Like, and like I think that's another thing Wall Street Mastermind does really well. Like it builds confidence. Like it like builds your character. It like you understand your strengths, you understand your weaknesses as well, but you get to work on it. But you also like recognize like what you're good at. And I'd prep for the Super Day, the behaviorals of it, and I thought it was like brilliant in my head. And I sat and like I did the Super Day, and then we changed like a bunch of stuff. I think we changed like a good chunk of it, and it wasn't changes that like were like minor or like, oh, like I do this like Sam was like analyzing every line of it. It was like prepping it down and getting down. And then like the best part was like, because we have so many coaches who've all worked in like different like banks as well, you get an insight on how each bank like what each bank looks for an interview. So I think I also like did a mock with Adele and Adele.
Yeah.
Um, Adele, yeah. And like he'd worked for the firm and like the same group. So like he was like his feedback was really well as well. So like you get to filter down like so like minutely, you get it almost down. So like I knew that firm was like very behavioral in there. Like Super Days, they've had a reputation for it. And that was what like we were prepping for the most of this, because technicals you can already like you can understand and you can just like prep it out. And I went through them, and I interviewed for them in their SF branch and their New York branch. From the SF side, I connected so well with the interviewers because of my answers on the behavioral side that like I'm still in touch with a couple of them. Like like 2 nights ago, I texted like one of the associates that interviewed me. I texted her like Korean barbecue pictures. We were talking about it, and like this is like one of the most intense groups in like that in the field. And like the New York one that I did, I ended up like connecting with the MD that interviewed me, and like we're still in touch. And like I didn't end up like getting an offer in that one because it was like an intensely competitive one, and on top of that, like there just weren't enough spots. But then I got a VP from that like group send me like a massive email, and like he'd gone to every single one of my interviewers. And this is where like the Wall Street Mastermind thing kicks in, right? Like before Wall Street Mastermind, I didn't know how to interview at all. But like after like being prepped and after being like told how to change these things, and like you don't change your answer, you change the way you say it, you change the way you frame it, you change the way you structure it. Like he told me that he talked to all three of my interviewers, and he replied and he sent me an email like about a week after my interview, and he was like, sorry for the late email, but like for the good or for the bad, like I just like none of them had any like negative feedback or constructive criticism for you. Like every single one of them liked you. Every single one of them thought like you made like really good points. They mentioned the structure. Like he like mentioned the structure of it. He was like, the way you structured your answer was really well. You connected with them on a personal level, but you also like moved on really quickly, and then like you went through the interview and like get along, and like all of them really wanted to like connect with you, and like an MD like who interviewed you like doing a call with you like the day after just to like network, like a networking call again, is pretty rare. um it's kind of funny, like the MD in New York did the call with me. The MD in SF like literally like replied to my thank you email with like saying like he pushed hard for me and stuff like that. So like the interviews are like, and this is maybe the hardest group in like Wall Street to crack. And like just sometimes like it's a shit luck. Like sometimes you just like have bad luck at a level, but like the interviews weren't bad. Like I know for a fact that like I didn't get in because like it was just a spots thing at that point. Like I know it wasn't like because I fucked up the interview, and that like helps me sleep at night. I'm not gonna lie, like it kind of does. Like you know you did well, and then like if you ever like want to move, like you know you can do it, like that kind of a thing. So I think like the interview skills by far, like Wall Street Mastermind definitely changed it for me.
That's amazing, man. I mean, look, like the type of reaction that you got from people, from interviewers, is not normal, right? I think like
Yeah,
anyone else that has gone through interviews before and has like not gotten an offer knows that 99% of the time, if they're not giving you an offer, like nobody's talking to you. Nobody wants to
yeah,
have anything to do with you after that. Like they just like it's none of their business at that point, right? But like to have so many people on the team in one of the toughest groups, probably like the best group, one of the best groups, not the best group on Wall Street, like to have everyone from like associates all the way up to managing directors reaching out to you, sending you emails, telling you how much they liked you, how they're pushing for you, like that's, I mean, like you said, like sometimes you can do everything right and it's just that competitive, right?
yeah. But you always have that like those people like in the future that that be there for you. Like it's like I know that like even in 5 years, if I want to look at that team or group, or like even next year or something like that, like these people are always there for you. You stay in touch, like, and like it's funny. One of like the person that emailed me, the VP, like actually offered to like get me a position at a competing bank that he was with 8 months ago, and like he was literally like, and like he wrote in the email, I think word for word, it was like, take this as a sign that like we think you would like fit in really well in this industry, because like there's no like way a competitor MD like almost like says like, okay, like I will connect you with my strong connections in the other bank. Like that was such a funny thing to read, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, for sure. Man, this interview has been like one of the most I want to say, like, I don't know what the right word is, but like intense interviews that I've done with you,
Yeah,
but also like just because they're so raw, and but as also like everything you said is there's so much truth to everything, right? And also just like you have such a unique background, you had to overcome so much. And I think like if nothing else, regardless of whether people decide to work with us or not, like this is hopefully just like inspirational for people. It's like if someone with your background can overcome all these things and break into investment banking, like literally no one else has any excuses for why
you
they
do it. Yeah,
cannot do this, right? um and I think that's an amazing thing. So I know we're over time. I'm just going to end on this one last question for
yeah.
you. It's like, now that you're on the other side, like if you only have one piece of advice that you could give to people who are either about to go through the process or maybe they're going through the process as we speak, like what advice would you give them?
I think from a holistic standpoint, like you got to be real with yourself at a certain level. Like this is one of those industries where you just have to be honest with yourself, know your strengths and weaknesses. like obviously like when you start out, like just you got to have that audacity to like say that I'm going to be an investment banker. It's just like if you don't believe in yourself, no one ever will. Like if you don't think you deserve that offer, you're not going to convince any interviewer that you deserve that offer. So like there's a fine line between that like cockiness and like confidence. Like walk that fine line pretty well. Like be real with yourself, know your strengths and weaknesses. Don't be afraid to ask help. Like reach out to as many people as you can. Like I think like there are people that are just like annoyed by how much I've reached out to them. Like at this point, it's intense, but like they will help you. Like if you keep knocking on the door, they're there. And I think Wall Street Mastermind might seem like a hard thing to like get into when you first look at it because of all the negative stuff that's out there, all the weird contemplation that you have. But from someone like coming from my background, I think it's worth it. Obviously like there's never a guarantee in life. Like if you come here and like you think like this is it and like you go to sleep after that, you're gonna get screwed like anywhere else. But like if you come in and you put in the effort, it's like it's almost like a guaranteed thing that you are gonna get an offer. And like not just one, like you're gonna get like I think almost everyone in there has got like well, most of us have like several offers or stuff like that, like going through it.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. And I think that look, I think like that's a good segue into like if you guys want to speak to someone who has already gone to the program, someone like Robin, or maybe it's other people, um, like we highly encourage that. In fact, like we'll help you facilitate that, right? In fact, like before you even join the program, the way we do is like, I mean, it is by application only, but if you guys want our help, you first go and book a call with one of our program alumni. And you can do that by going to www.wallstreetmastermind.com/apply. So it's street is abbreviated to ST. So wallstmastermind.com/apply. And then you'll like book basically a free virtual coffee chat just with like an upperclassman that's already gotten an offer from one of the top banks. You can ask them whatever you want about recruiting. They'll give you advice. You can ask them about their experience in Wall Street Mastermind if you want. They'll tell you about that. And then like after your conversation with them, if you still want to work with us, then like they can help set you up for a call with our team and like facilitate that conversation. And then like our team will have to vet you, like understand your situation, what it is that you're trying to accomplish, what do you need help with, how much help do you need. And based on all of the things that you tell us, like once we have a good understanding of it, if we're very confident that we can help you, then we're happy to like invite you into the program. And we will only invite you into the program if we're confident that we can help you. Like if we don't feel good about like our chances of getting an offer, like we actually don't want to work with you because we don't want to waste your time and money, but also like we don't want to hurt our own success rate, right? And that's not to say
I don't
that
think people realize that. Like I think like the Reddit and like Wall Street Oasis forums assume like there's like 5,000 people in the group, like Slack channel and stuff like that. It's a pretty like limited group of people. Like it's not like anybody like is in there. Like and like there are some people that like that joined like 5 years ago
we don't
that
have
are
5,000, we have like 500.
yeah, it's like we have a time like and like every single person is so accomplished. Like the ones that joined 5 years ago, like one of my like recruiters from Elite Boutique was in the group. Like I like it's such a accomplished like group of people. And like I was at an event for an Elite Boutique and there was only 25 of us and like two of us were from Wall Street Mastermind.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I think that we have a very strong but very highly qualified network, and you'll run into people every single like this network is just like, by the way, this network is like you get to be a part of this network for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Right. But like we're placing people into like some of the craziest places. Like even just for someone in 2023, we placed one person into KKR private equity. They only hired 6 people in the entire country. One of them is from Wall Street Mastermind. We placed someone into Blackstone private equity right out of undergrad. I think they hired 5 people for that team. One of them is from Wall Street Mastermind. For the last 3 or 4 years, we've placed at least one person into Goldman Sachs TMT every single year. And that streak has not been broken yet. And I don't know how many people GS TMT hires every year, but it's not a lot, right? Like between their SF and New York office, it might be like 20 people is my guess, right? And so like that's like we represent a very small percentage of the overall applicant pool. If you think about like maybe over 100 people in any given year out of like maybe 100,000 to 200,000 applicants, right? But like the proportion of the people that are getting like the best offers, like we have like a significant percentage of that market share, right? And so like that's something to keep in mind. And so like we don't, like I said, we don't work with everybody, but also some of our detractors are like, oh, you're only taking the shoe-ins or whatever. It's like, no, like, I mean, like, look at Robin, like,
Yeah, like as far of like a shoe in as you could find. And I know like this, like, and this is like hit me. I think this is a big reason for anyone to want to join Wall Street Mastermind is like the community, because it's such a like a successful group of people. It stays with you for the rest of your life. Like, and like these people are super helpful. Like it is crazy how like out of their way they'll go to help you, because it's such a small community and it stays with you for the rest of your life. And these people are going to go start companies and like CEOs. And like, I remember you said this in your podcast, and this was one of the things that always sticks with me. It's like, your goal wasn't just to place people in Wall Street. Your goal was to like create this network of like successful people that like, that are there. And so it's a community that stays in the overarching term. So like, I don't know, as students, we're so focused on this process, but like life is longer than this. And like, this is an investment, not just in that process, but to be a part of this community that is like in super helpful and is going to do some incredible things in the future.
I agree, man. And I can't wait to see what people accomplish. So
Yeah.
with that said, guys, just to reiterate, if you are interested in becoming a part of this amazing family, that is kind of this, those are the steps that you have to go through. Like first step, again, book a free virtual coffee chat with one of our alumni, talk to them, learn more about it. We're very transparent. We've got nothing to hide. We want you to talk to the people that have already gone through the program. Okay. So again, www.wallstreetmastermind.com/apply. The street is abbreviated to ST. It's wallstmastermind.com/apply. And we look forward to talking to you. All right. With that said, Robin, I want to thank you so much for sharing your, honestly, your really, really amazing story with us. I'm super proud of you for how far you've come and where you've been able to get to despite all the insane obstacles that you had going against you. And, you know, I just know that you're going to go far. I just know that you're going to do great things, just like a lot of the other people in our program. So very just grateful and honored to have been able to play a part in kind of your success. Like obviously most of the credit goes to you because you're the one that had to go out and do it. And I'm just like glad that, you know, we got to like play a small part in it. Right. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. And thank you for sharing your experience with all of our followers and audience. And yeah, man, I look forward to seeing what you accomplish, and just don't be a stranger with whatever
Yeah,
else.
of course. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for like helping through that whole process. I know like it's been life changing literally. And I appreciate having that. Thank you so much. And yeah, appreciate it.
For sure. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. And thank you guys for tuning in. And we'll be back with more of these for you guys in the near future. All right. Until next time. Bye.